When you're standing in a small garage or a cramped hobby shop and you start wondering whether a metal lathe is even worth the space it will take, that hesitation is real. You've probably seen a dozen YouTube videos promising professional-grade performance. But the truth is you need to know if the machine will actually turn a piece of brass or a small steel rod without breaking a sweat, and whether it fits into the budget you've set aside for a project that might end up as a one-off. That's why I'm breaking down the Shop Fox 6.10" Mini Metal Lathe M1015 in a way that looks past the headline numbers and focuses on what it means for someone who wants to make a few parts a month, not run a full-scale shop. Link is in the description if you want to check the product details on Amazon. First off, the size. The Mini label isn't just marketing fluff. The whole footprint of this lathe is about the size of a large printer, and the swing over the bed is 6 inches while the distance between centers is 10 inches. For anyone who lives in an apartment or shares a workshop, that means you can tuck it under a workbench or roll it onto a sturdy table without carving out a dedicated floor space. The trade-off is that you're limited to small workpieces. If your goal is to spin a 5-inch diameter aluminum tube, you'll be fine. But trying to turn a longer shaft or a larger diameter piece quickly runs into the physical limits of the swing. Setting it up is surprisingly straightforward. The lathe arrives mostly pre-assembled. The headstock, tailstock, and bed are bolted together, and you only have to attach the motor and the chuck. The motor is a standard 115V HP unit, which plugs directly into a standard outlet. There's no need for a separate variable speed drive unless you want finer control, and that's where many first-time buyers run into a hidden cost. The stock speed control is a simple 3-position selector: low, medium, high. In practice, that gives you enough range for light aluminum, brass, and some mild steel. But if you need to dial in a precise surface speed for harder alloys, you'll likely want to invest in an aftermarket variable speed controller. That's not a deal breaker, just something to keep in mind if you're chasing tighter tolerances. Now let's talk about actual turning. The lathe's headstock uses a standard inch spindle taper, which means you can buy a wide variety of aftermarket chucks, faceplates, and live centers without being locked into a proprietary system. In my testing, I mounted a 2-inch stainless steel rod with a basic 3-jaw chuck and an inch carbide cutting tool. At the low speed setting, the machine cut cleanly enough for a quick prototype. The surface finish was acceptable for a visual mock-up, and the tool didn't chatter. When I moved to the medium speed for a small aluminum disc, the cuts were smoother, and I was able to achieve a decent roundness without excessive tool wear. The practical strength of the M1015 lies in that good enough zone for hobbyists and early-stage makers. If you're building a few custom brackets, turning small decorative knobs, or repairing a broken shaft for a vintage motor, this lathe handles the job without demanding a lot of fine-tuning. The tailstock, with its simple hand-tightened lock, provides enough rigidity for light drilling or supporting a workpiece while you faceplate it. The bed is cast iron, which helps damp vibration. You'll notice less wobble than you'd expect from a machine of this size, especially when you're not pushing the limits of material hardness. Where the machine shows its limits is in sustained heavy cutting and high-precision work. The HP motor, while adequate for soft metals, struggles a bit when you try to remove a lot of material from mild steel in one pass. You'll hear the motor labor, and the surface finish degrades noticeably. The 3-speed selector also means you're stuck at fixed RPM ranges, which can be a nuisance when you're trying to match cutting speed to material. The tailstock's lock isn't as robust as you'd find on a full-size lathe, so if you're doing a long drilling operation, you might notice a slight drift. Another hidden trade-off is the lack of a built-in tool post. The lathe comes with a basic fixed tool holder that works fine for a single tool, but if you need to switch between a boring bar, a parting tool, and a facing tool quickly, you'll have to buy an aftermarket tool post. That's an extra $30-50 expense that many first-time buyers overlook, and it can affect the ergonomics of your setup. On the other hand, the simple fixed holder keeps the overall price down and reduces the learning curve for people who are just getting started with turning. Who should consider buying the Shop Fox M1015? If you're a hobbyist who already owns a drill press, a small bench saw, and a few hand tools, and you want to add turning capability for small parts without sacrificing a lot of floor space, this lathe fits nicely. It's also a